What's up, my island people? Welcome back to the Dear Caribbean Parents 2.0 podcast that is dedicated to discussing the good, the bad, and the ugly of Caribbean parenting. In today's episode, we will be discussing the all too familiar phrase, children are to be seen and not heard. If you haven't listened to episode 1, I invite you to go back and listen it, as some of what I'm going to say ties into last week's episode. Children are to be seen and not heard. This phrase carries two basic meanings for me, especially in St. Vincent. First meaning implies when two adults are having a conversation, a child should not but in speak when spoken to. The other meaning of this phrase ties into episode 1 of the podcast. It carries the idea that says children don't have a right to voice an opinion. So let's break down the first definition. Children shouldn't get involved in adult conversations. Phrase that says children are to be seen and not heard was first coined in the 15th century, according to my research, and it was saying if a child is in a room where an adult is having conversation, that child is only supposed to sit and listen and gain wisdom, but they weren't supposed to make themselves known by asking questions or by just basically interrupting the conversations that the adults are having. But in the Caribbean now, majority of the times when adults are having a conversation and they use this phrase, majority of the times these adults are gossiping about another adult. And oftentimes it's about another relative. It's just what it is. I've seen it too many times, right? And they will say to the children, speak when spoken to, when a child asks inquiring question about person who the adults are speaking about. And they will say, speak when spoken to. But I'm always amazed that these adults don't have the common sense that God gave them not to have the conversation in front of a child, because we know what they say, little donkeys have big ears, meaning if a child is present in the room, don't assume that they're not listening and that they're not gonna ask a question. Majority of the time they will ask a question. And if they don't ask a question, they're gonna listen and carry that news to some other child. Pretty soon everybody gonna know your business. They can't keep their mouth shut. They're gonna tell their friends what they hold, and that friend is gonna tell their friend what they hold, and it's just gonna cause a big old drama. I've seen it too many times growing up with my neighbors. I've seen it. Okay, it happens. So if you have to tell your child speak when spoken to, children are to be seen and not heard, it means that conversation shouldn't be taking place near a child. Have that conversation in private, but that child is at school somewhere about other than in your presence, because those children, they listen. They're like a fly on the wall. They hear everything, they know everything, they see everything. Things that adults take children don't know, they know because they listen and they hear it. As adults, you have to be very careful about the conversation that you have in front of your children. I've seen where parents speak to their 12-year-old about the problems that they're having in their marriage, and I don't think that's an appropriate conversation parents should be having with a child, because you're putting that child in a difficult situation, either to hate the parent that you're talking about or to basically form a negative idea about themselves. And children, they form negative ideas about themselves very easily when placed in adult situation. Be careful about the conversation that you're having around your children. When we were children, we were taught to say, excuse me when we are interrupting adults. This is basic manners. I see some parents today who allow their children get involved in their conversations and put in their 2 cents, and they think it's funny, cute, and acceptable. This type of parenting only models to children disrespect. Rules are very much important in this world today, and so is manners. On one hand, these relaxed parents are showing their children attention by allowing them to be seen and heard, but it's negative attention. You're teaching your children lack of boundaries, because that's not an effective way of teaching a child to basically have an opinion, to be seen, to be heard. Yes, you're giving your child the space and the grace to be seen and to be heard, but in adult conversation, it's a negative, and it's teaching them lack of boundaries and that they are allowed to speak in every and all conversations, and this is not true. We must continue to teach children good manners as they will need it in adulthood. Children still need to know when it's appropriate to speak and when it's not appropriate to speak, especially when it comes to adults having conversations. The second definition says children don't have opinions and their feelings don't matter. This ties into what we were talking about into the previous episode. Big people don't tell lies. It says that a child don't have any rights, but children have the same basic needs as every adult. Children need to know they belong. Children need to know they have power. Children need to know they are loved. Children need to have the ability to explore, and they need to know that they are important. These are the same basic needs that every adult need and have. And because children are human beings, they have the same basic needs as well. How can you show to your children that they belong? Pay attention to them. Pay attention to the things that they like and that the things they don't like. You show them power when you give them choices. Growing up, we didn't have that much choice. Whatever our parents say, that was it. Children need to know that they are loved. Affirm them. Tell them that you love them. Hug them and kiss them. This is showing them that you love them. Yes, most Caribbean parents will say they belly full and they have a roof over their head, and that shows that they love them, and that is true. However, children need to hear the words "I love you." It builds their self-esteem, but it also teaches them that they are wanted in their family. It gives them a sense of worth and tells them that they belong in their family. There are so many children growing up in this world who believe that they don't belong in their family and that they don't fit into their family because they're not hearing these words of affirmation. They're not hearing that somebody loves them and that somebody cares for them. Yes, having a roof over their head is important, but words are also important in a child's life. Children need to know that they're important. When you give them a chore to do and they've performed the task, tell them thank you. Most parents don't say thank you because they figure the child is obligated to do it. Even though it's a chore, still say thank you to your child. You're teaching them values and you're teaching them that they are appreciated, and kids need to know that they are appreciated. Yes, it's a chore and yes, they have to do it, but there's no harm in saying thank you to your child because they cooperate with you and they give you an attitude to when they did the chore. But after the times when kids are giving their parents attitude, it's because they don't feel loved, they don't feel important, they don't feel appreciated, and they don't feel as if to say they belong. If they don't feel as if to say they belong in their own family, they gotta try to belong somewhere else. That's putting your children in danger. Now we've come to the segment in the podcast where we stop, look, and listen to the children in our lives. Stop. Stop trying to be the cool parent that you forget to teach and model appropriate behaviors for your children. Good manners and behavior still take you very far in this world. So allowing your child to butt into adult conversation may be cute now, but it's not gonna serve them very well in their adult years. Look, what can you do today that you can begin to course correct what you are currently modeling to your children that is negative? If you're modeling bad conversation skills with your children when it comes to interjecting into conversation that they are not allowed, start by laying down ground rules. They're not gonna like it in the beginning when you switch up your parenting style, but in the long run, it's for their benefit. Listen, your children are a gift from God. He trusts you to teach them For the adult world, they will inherit one day. Listen to the advice of trusted adults that you have in your life. Yes, I know they are your babies and you don't trust anyone with your children, right? But other parents and other adults can be great resources if you are willing to listen and receive help. One thing I know about our Caribbean people is that they are very defensive when it comes to their children and their child rearing skills. But if we are to break the cycle of dysfunctional parenting to the next generation, someone has to be brave enough, humble enough to accept help from others who are genuinely trying to help, especially for the older generation. Yeah. I know I said in the beginning that you know the older generation screwed us up with their parenting styles, and it's true. But at the same time, they had some great wisdom. We must remember that the older generation, they parented from the little knowledge that they gained. So even though some of the stuff that they did and said to us were horrible, they also have with age or wisdom that they can pass down to us, the next generation. The trick to learning from the older generation is to take the gems, the good things that we have learned from them, and throw away the bad things. To conclude this week's episode, start looking and listening to your children. Slow down and enjoy them as they grow up fast. And here is the poem that we are going to close our podcast. It's called Listen, and the author is unknown. It says, take a moment to listen today to what your children are trying to say. Listen today, whatever you do, or they won't be there to listen to you. Listen to their problems, listen to their needs. Praise their smallest triumphs, praise their smallest deeds. Tolerate their chatter, amplify their laughter. Find out what's the matter, find out what they're after. But tell them that you love them every single night. And though you scold them, be sure you hold them tight. Tell them everything's alright. Tomorrow's looking bright. Take a moment to listen today to what your children are trying to say. Listen today, whatever you do, and they will come back to listen to you. This is OR Buzz, the Vinci Girls and Sensational Butterfly Queen, signing out for today's episode.